welcome again to Interesting Individuals. We're here in the ladies' parlor at the Portofino restaurant. My guest today has robbed people, shot people, beat up people, hassled people, murdered people, stolen horses, and he's still walking the streets free. Well, how is that? Well, he's done all these dastardly deeds in that wonderful land of Hollywood, and you've seen him on TV and movies. I have a real great opportunity to visit with actor Claude Akins. Claude, thank you so much for the time here.
It's nice to be here.
Okay, Claude, let's talk a little bit about what brings you to Bedford, Indiana for this charity.
I'm here for St. Anthony's Charity Golf Tournament to raise money for the prenatal and postnatal care of women and babies that are born. And I visited the hospital today, and I tell you, all the efforts that these people put in are well rewarded. If you figure you can save one baby or one mother after birth, it's really all worth the time. And it's a very unique situation. You're very lucky in Michigan City to have them, because they find mothers that bring mothers in who possibly would never have any prenatal care, and which, as all of you who've had children know, is very necessary. And they help them through the pregnancy, and because of them, they have decreased the death rate of babies in Bedford and Michigan City and the whole area. So it's a wonderful organization. And I just, you know, I said, give an unemployed actor a chance at a free meal and a round of golf, he'll go anyplace.
Do you do much traveling throughout the country?
Well, I do a lot. I just came from Bedford, Indiana. My hometown. They had a Labor Day tournament, 2-day tournament for me down there, which was just wonderful. Thomas Wolfe wrote a book that said you can't go home. Well, he's wrong. You can go home. I just did. And then it was wonderful because we could make this in a loop to come up and do this. And hopefully next year we'll do the same thing. We'll make the whole loop up, go there, and then come here afterwards.
Okay, well, Claude, I know you've been an actor for roughly 40 years now, and I think we'd like to just trace your background a little bit. Let's start back in the early 50s, I guess, how you first got into acting.
October 1950, I joined the Barter Theater, which was started by an actor, Bob Porterfield, in the Depression. He brought a bunch of unemployed actors down to Abingdon, Virginia, and they performed on the second oldest legit stage in the country, Little Trust Stage. And they did plays for barter. You could get in and can to this day for a can of corn, a can of beans, a side of ham. He had companies on the road. You traveled in the school bus. You had a semi-truck with the lights, sets, wardrobe, everything. You would come to the town, you're going to play, find the theater, unload the truck, put up the sets, the light bar, the timber board, run out, get something to eat, do the makeup, do the show, strike the show, load it all in the truck. He would drive to the next town. You'd run to the hotel, sleep a few hours, drive to the next town. It's really a test to see if this is what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I said yes. Okay. So after that, I sold my motorcycle. That got me money to get to New York. I did live television. This is the summer of 1951. Live TV, summer stock in Cragsmore, New York. Then I went into the Rose Tattoo, which was playing on Broadway, and then did the national tour. At the beginning of that summer, I did summer stock in Toledo, Ohio, and made the best move of my life. I married my wife in Chicago. We went back to New York. I was tested in New York by Columbia Studios for From Here to Eternity. And in March 1953, was brought to California along with, there were 8 of us. Don Dubbins was in production. Don is now dead. Mickey Shaughnessy had his own club. Mickey's gone. Yes. There was an Italian fellow with him. Ernest Borgnine, whatever happened to him?
Yeah, didn't he win an Oscar?
Jack Warner, whatever, Borden. But anyway, it was our first picture.
Wasn't Robert Wilkie another fine character?
Oh, yes, Robert Wilkie. Yes, that's okay.
That was another.
He was one of the boxers in it. Then I did the K Mutiny shortly after that, and that's when my wife and I decided we would stay in Hollywood. So I've done 53 motion pictures and I think 404 television shows, and I'm still fooling them. Oh,
okay. Claude, you know, you play so many villains in westerns and so forth, and so many other actors have done villains and get identified with villains. I guess a question, why are villains sometimes more fun and interesting to play, and also, what should an actor try to do to really, you know, get into playing?
First of all, there's one hero and 5 guys trying to kill him. So you have a much better chance of getting a job trying to kill him than getting a job as a hero. And I think sometimes you know, the heroes, Johnny Square-jawed, noble, honest, and all like that. And the heroes can just be awful. We ran some tape tonight of things I did, and there's a scene there where I play an ex-boxer hired by the mob, cauliflower ears, scars here, crew cut, and I beat up Marissa Pavan, who plays a blind girl. Now, you can't get much lower than that, I'll tell you. They booed me. But then eventually I did move. I crossed over the line a few times. I played Loretta Young's husband and a couple of shows.
Really?
And I was with occasion, but most of it was the bad guy. Then I did Moving On. And that kind of moved me across the line into a action-adventure kind of lead and into a nice guy kind of thing.
Claude, another question I have on, you know, there's different approaches to acting. You got into it with theater. I happen to know that during the 50s, the method style of acting was a real big one, and some either liked it or didn't like it.
Yeah.
Did you ever experiment with it, or were you ever approached by it?
Yes,
or was that?
actually, I auditioned for the Actors Studio in New York, and Carl Malden and two other fellas judged my audition and turned me down. Then I went on tour with a rose tattoo, which was filled with people from the Actors Studio. Marty Balsam and Pearl and, I can't think of 2 or 3 others, had all gone to the Actors Studio. And Don Murray, and we were going to do scenes for the Actors Studio, and I just, it was a technique that I think they started it as the method, Stanislavski's theory of acting, the art of acting. Well, I think they twisted it around because his theory of acting is that you keep it real and lifelike. And I studied Stanislavski method at Northwestern. But I think these people, because Brando had a certain style, it became the fashion to copy Brando. Well, there's only one original, and everybody else is different. So I disagreed with their methods,
and to my knowledge, you're not the only actor. There's quite a few other well-known actors who didn't see that point of view with
well, for example, when they did was the Boys from Brazil, I think it was, with Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman has a scene where he's been up for a couple of days and he comes in, and Laurence Olivier, as this dentist, drills into his teeth, tortures him through. Well, they came in to do the scene, and Laurence Olivier took one look at Dustin Hoffman with the haggard eyes and the beard, and he said, "I got my wool. Are you sick? What's happening?" He said, "No, I've been up for 2 days preparing for this." And Laurence Olivier said, "Well, why don't you just try acting, my boy?"
You know, Claude, I'd like to know, what are some of the, when you're looking back on some of the movies and TV shows, what stand out in your mind as being the ones you're the most proud of, and maybe some of the other actors, actresses, and directors you've had a chance to work with?
Well, of course, my first, Fred Zinnemann directed that, and he had to be one of the dearest, kindest men in the world, and especially for all of us whose first picture it was. He was patient with the beginners. Stanley Kramer, I did the picture he produced, King Mutiny. I did the first picture he directed, The Defilements, and I did Inherit the Wind that he directed.
Spencer Tracy.
So, Spencer Tracy, Frederick Marsh, Gene Kelly. Oh, it was.
Did you get to know Frederick Marsh, Spencer Tracy well, or
very much, because we were, locked in that courtroom for about 9 weeks.
You were a minister in that one.
Yeah, played the minister. So those I enjoyed. Working with Barbara Stanwyck, I fell in love with her. She was just marvelous. And through the years, Paul Burke in Police Story, we played what I think is the best part I've ever had, the 10-year honeymoon is a Police Story. And we were partners for 10 years. I had a wife, a couple of kids, good cop, crazy sense of humor, and I was terminal. And only my wife and I knew, and I ended up getting myself killed. In the LAPD, if you are killed in the line of duty, your wife continues to receive your salary. If you're killed off duty or you die off duty, she gets the burial costs and a pension. And this was a true episode, as most of Wamball's were, based on real cops.
That was a real quality show, Police Story. You did several episodes.
I did 3. I did Broken Badge, which was a 2-hour, about a street cop who kept his area clean his way and gets framed for killing a hooker, goes to prison, that he's sent half of the guys there.
Right.
And then I did one as an alcoholic policeman. The true incident was that if you go to AA, you were fired because the LAPD considered you had an uncontrollable problem which didn't go with being a police officer. Because of this man's experience, the LAPD started their own in-house alcoholics program, which I think was wonderful. But it was Joseph Wambaugh, and the quality of the shows remained the quality of the shows because Joseph Wambaugh is the only producer, creator of a series in history that could fight the networks. Everybody else have to knuckle under the networks. If you don't, they cancel your show. And the networks, of course, have no experience in programming, writing, anything, but they can tell the finest writer, producer, director in the world, change this, change that, do that, which is why we have such terrible television now. Wambaugh would not put up with any of it. He wouldn't take it. If they tried to interfere, he said, fine, I'll take my show off the air. So,
absolutely, yeah. You know, Claude Television's been around for over 40 years, and I know that you've been in some classic shows, and not just westerns, but I mean like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, The Twilight Zone, The Untouchable, and other. You know, you've tested the other areas, and you've done well on that. What is your view of television? How has it changed, either good or bad, over the years?
Well, I think an example is the three networks lost 10 million viewers last year, and I think they lost them because they no longer depend on independent producers to create a series. There used to be a guy named Quinn Martin, who created Invaders, The Fugitive, FBI, Canada, all different unusual stories. Now the networks create their own, or if one is successful, they clone it for 3 or 4 different shows. And they've gone for these real life things where real people do the shows, and it is really terrible. As an example, in, say, in 1965, make it easy, if you did a show, at that time, 93-point-something% of the homes in the country had a television set. And at prime viewing time, peak viewing, 89% of those sets were on to watch the networks. They still have the same percentage, 93-point of television sets. At peak viewing, 69% are watching. Because they're watching television, they're watching cable television, they're watching movies, they're radio. 2 most popular shows on the college campuses today are Leave It to Beaver and The Nelsons. Well, then why don't we have more shows like that? It's because the networks can't create shows like that, and they will not go to independent producers who can't do it.
You know, Claude, every actor and actress has an agent, and I know I overhear jokes about agents.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And I know that there is, to my understanding, a bit of a controversy about who has the real power, an agent or the actor or so forth. I guess let's talk a little bit about selecting an agent and dealing with an agent.
Yeah, I was fortunate because I went early in my career, I went with Meyer, Michigan, who was a one-man agency. And Meyer was wonderful, and I am pro-agent because if somebody says to you, I want you for this job, and they give you the script and read it, and it's the greatest part you ever read in the world. And they said, but we don't have any money, so I'll give you $10. Or maybe you give us $10 to do it. I mean, I'd do it, right? I've done shows I would pay them. The agents protect you from yourselves. They know the budgets. The whole false standard out there is by money. If you, back in the days of the Western, there was a category, $750 a week. Those were the guys that rode in the gang. $1,500 a week, they could be the dog heavy or the dress area. So, but the more money you made per week, the better parts you were up for, the nicer you were treated, the better deals that you had. So your agent's job was to gradually raise your price and then maintain the price. You didn't want to take a cut and drop it down. It's kind of a phony standard, but they had no other way to judge. So my agent's job was to get me more expensive, therefore I was up for better parts, and then I'd do those parts, and he'd